Some people have asked us why we chose to go with a van versus an RV or a trailer. And I can share with you guys our story on how we got started doing van life. So this all started in 2020 during COVID. Rena and I, we were working remotely. I have a business that I can run remotely, and Rena was working for a health insurance company remotely. And we were watching a TV show called Tiny Homes on Netflix. And at that time, we had no knowledge on van life, no intentions of even doing van life. And while watching that show, we were kind of interested and intrigued how those people can live in such a small space. And we were intrigued about how they designed it to make it very efficient. And that's one thing about me is like I like the efficiencies of like a smaller space. And sometimes these tiny homes are just really smart. They made it really smart to live in. And so that was that. And then later on, a few months later, we started watching van life content on YouTube. I don't know how it got recommended to us, but we were just watching a few of these van lifers. Sarah and Alex James was one of them. They were showing people how to build vans, and even at that time, we didn't think that we would even consider doing van life. But as we watched more and more of those videos, we were interested to see how people were designing the vans to be what they wanted to be. And so Rena and I would just have conversations and say, hey, if we were to have a van, like how would we design it? How would we make that space functional? And we would actually draw sketches just for fun, right? And that kind of started the idea implanted in our minds that if we have a space of our own, that could be something that we could do. But it was still not in our reality of living the van life. But as we watch more and we talk about it more, we kind of said something to the lines of, hey, maybe in the future we can do some sort of van life, and just have a van that we can travel in. Seems like it's a very efficient way to travel, right? You have basically a tiny home with you that you can you take anywhere in the country. And so we kind of just left it at that. But then one day in July, I got a Facebook ad showing a Mercedes Sprinter van. So it was a Mercedes dealership running that ad. And the ad was for a Mercedes Sprinter van, high top, for a 2019 with 0% interest financed. And that was like, it might make sense if we could finance this thing, right? And the caveat to that is, when we were watching these videos, we even talked about if we were to build a van, like how long it would take us to build it. And watching some of these YouTubers, there were a few other guys that we saw like basically talk about the build, right? Some people say it takes 2 to 3 months, some longer. And I'd figure, hey, if I were to do it, I would probably take about 3 months to do it, given my schedule and my flexibility. And so going back to the ad that we saw, the other caveat to what they were selling were 3 months delay payments. So meaning we don't have to make a payments until December. I think it was December. So that I took that as a sign, and we were just like, what a coincidence. 0% financing and 3 months no payments. That's exactly the amount of time that I need to build a van. And the zero financing is really enticing, actually. You know, if you're not paying interest, it saves a lot. You're just paying the principal. And so we were like, all right, let's just go take a look at the van in New Jersey. We were in New Jersey at that time, and we decided that was the van that we were going to get. We didn't really consider any other vans. The vans, there were really three that people build using for van life. There's the Mercedes Sprinters, there's the Ford Transit, and then there's I believe the Ram ProMaster as well. And there's also the Nissan one. But we just think that the Mercedes look really sexy. It's just a higher quality car or van. So we went with the Mercedes, but let's go back to why we went with the van versus an RV. I mean, an RV wasn't even a consideration for us, because we never really wanted to be associated with RVs, just because of the aesthetics of it and the size. What we like the most about being in a van, and even when we were kind of deciding, is um, the freedom that this lifestyle can give us, right? During COVID, we were doing everything remotely, so we were just saying, why not just do what we do somewhere super nice, right? Somewhere out in nature. As long as we have internet, then we can do what we need to do um, anywhere. And so the van was really the choice. And going back to the freedom aspect of it, right? The van allows us to basically go anywhere a car is. We haven't had any issues with parking, even in shopping areas or malls, anywhere that you can imagine parking a car, you can park this van. I mean, there's some places that are a little bit smaller where our van will stick out, but in general, I would say 99% of the places that we go to, no issue parking a van. So that's the biggest factor I would say is the ability to go anywhere. If you're driving an RV, there's a lot of places that is restricted, right? You can't park in the city, you can't go into a lot of these smaller areas. Usually they're bigger, they're longer. And when I'm talking about RVs, I'm talking about like the Cruise America type RVs, right? They're the bulky, obvious RVs. They do have like the Winnebagles and the what's the other brand, Airstream, that makes RVs out of vans. But when I'm referring to RVs, I'm talking about like the obvious ones, right? And so that was kind of out of the question for us, is to drive something that we can't use it on a day-to-day basis. Think of two places that we were able to go with our van where I know an RV wouldn't be able to go. One is Arcadia's Cadillac Mountain. I think there's a length restriction. Our van is 23 feet, so we were just right at the cusp of making that length. So, and they say no RVs, right? And the cool thing is, like, we can identify as an RV if we want to, or identify as a camper. And because we're not really an official RV, so we can just say this is just a camper van, right? And so that kind of lets us get away with some of the things. And then the other place that there was a restriction that I know of is Chisos Basin in Big Bend National Park. There's a 22 feet restriction. I think it's because of the windy road and the high wind. So they restrict a certain length to any vehicle driving down to Chisos Basin. All in all, the mobility of it, the ability to go everywhere, is the reason why we chose a van. It's just pretty flexible. And what we love the most is the idea that we can do stealth camping. And we've done that a ton, right? When we're in a big city, we even stealth camped in New York City, right in the heart of New York City. We've done it in LA, Denver, any big cities. There's cars, we just blend right in. And the stealth factor, right? If you don't know how a camper van is supposed to look with the solar panels, you really don't know what this is, right? For the most part, right? People are kind of catching on to it, but a camper van like this, the way that we designed it, is designed to be as stealthy as possible, so we don't get disturbed at night, or people don't mess with it at all. And luckily we haven't had any issues with people messing with it or getting a knock on telling us to leave. We've been sort of cautious and careful with that. That the idea of freedom, right? Be able to go anywhere we want and park anywhere, see anywhere, see anything, or go anywhere a car can go. I mean, there's a lot of places that we still can't go, like places where it requires four-wheel drive, high clearance. This isn't high clearance, and this is only two-wheel drive. So but this van is able to take us to, I would say, majority of the places that the country has to offer. Later on, if we want to go to the back roads and off roads, then that would be reserved for another vehicle. So I just want to share with you guys kind of an insight as to how we got started and why we chose this van. And if you guys want to know more about why this van versus a ProMaster versus a Ford Transit, we can kind of go into some of the specifics that we like about this van versus others. Another thing about choosing this van, a cargo van from scratch, and building it ourselves, designing it and building it ourselves, is that we wanted to first design a van that is super functional for what we need. If you guys seen our van or a van tour before, you'll notice that there's a lot of cabinets and there's a lot of things put together that are, in my opinion, pretty smart and well designed. We actually have a full time lapse of the entire build in our YouTube channel, so you guys can check that out. And that's part of the van life experience, in my opinion, is the build, right? We were able to build it, and it took us 3 months exactly. And it was a really satisfying process. And the day that we moved in, we felt very accomplished that we were able to do this together and build something of our own. And that we can actually enjoy for, I mean, we're still enjoying it now. So very rewarding to be able to do that. And the design aspect of it and the coloring was picked specifically for it to feel homey, right? We want to build a tiny home, not just you know, somewhere to live on the wheel, which, in our opinion, that's what an RV would kind of serve as. I mean, there's probably pretty smart designs for RVs nowadays, um, uh, but we wanted to make it something of our own, and this is what it is. So I'm going to end the video here. So if you guys like watching real van life content, be sure to check out our video tomorrow. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you guys on tomorrow's video. Bye.